Welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. This video is going to be about how CHS can produce something called cash flow statements to help you analyze the cash you may have received overall for the company and spent. And most importantly, I'll probably spend the most time in this video about how active CHS is being able to track cash in and out by job, and it's also able to track it by department or division. I'll probably focus more on the by job thing though. But first of all, to get cash flow statements, you can go to Accounting Financials and you can click the Financial Statement button to get the same window that you'll get if you use, even if you're over here in Jobs and you type in CF for cash flow, it'll go to this very same window as that button would have gone to. So there's a couple of ways. And you'll notice that this first button here is balance sheets, trial balances, and cash flow. You could select a date for the cash flow statements themselves to be cut off so that you look at the cash flow as of a certain date. But I'm just going to leave today's date here. Be sure you type 4 digits for the year. And the first thing I want to open is a cash flow report for the entire company before we get over here to how you can do it for job. And I'd like to talk about how a computer program, etc., would have to analyze the balances in your GL accounts on your chart of accounts to decide if the balance in that account is a source of cash or a use of cash. So a cash flow statement is still a financial statement that's going and just getting the balances as of whatever date that you enter, and then deciding whether to put them as a source of cash or a use of cash. If you go farther down here, there's uses of cash. And I want to talk a little bit of accounting lingo here for a minute. Basically, there's certain accounts that normally have a credit balance. In other words, there's a minus sign in front of their balance. And that minus sign doesn't mean anything other than it's for your double set of your double entry types of books, so you can keep them balanced, where you have debits and credits that all total to zero. And that's all that means. But generally, liability accounts are credit accounts. They're just that way. It's actually the way it is. And so are sales accounts. So are maybe equity accounts if you have made money and moved your money into equity. Some of those types of accounts like that, other income accounts, but we're going to go down and talk about a few things. So the way of computer software, actually things that are liabilities are continued sources of cash. If you think about it, if you go get a loan or you use a credit card, you're actually sort of getting cash into the company in one way or another. If you owe money out, it's a source of cash. But accounts payable trade is called a source of cash. In general, for cash flow statements, it's there under a source of cash because actually you would have posted all these other sides. When you posted the bills, you might have office supplies, and that's a debit to office supplies and a credit to accounts payable. So the office supplies that you posted as a bill is actually going to show up as a use of cash. In other words, the other side of all the entries posted to accounts payable trade were probably debits, and they showed up in some other accounts that are also on the cash flow statement. An interesting one to look at is the fact that you have these credit card payables, construction loans payable, considered to be sources of cash because they're credit balances. Same with credit card payable, they're credit balances, but they're considered sources of cash. So on a cash flow statement, a computer program will take the minus sign off the credits and show those as positive amounts, show those as various sources of cash, because the computer program is also going to come along. And cost of sales is showing up here, which is usually a debit balance account, but this is a credit balance because we haven't closed anything to cost of sales in this year, which is an income statement account, cost of sales. We just actually voided a couple of checks and caused it to have a credit balance for right now. We haven't posted any house closings this year. But you'll notice that down here under uses of cash, accounts receivable trade is normally a debit balance, meaning, and that's what this is, this $10,259 is a debit balance on the books. But in order to produce a cash flow statement, CHS will turn that around and put a minus sign in front of it because it's called uses of cash. And we want to take all of these account balances and total them up to everything, total them all up, which will give us our cash balance. What the program does is ignore accounts. The only accounts that are not showing up here, either under sources or uses, are the cash accounts. And so if you have a balanced set of books and you say, let's go search for all the accounts and put all the credit balance as sources of cash and all of our debit balances as uses, but don't include the cash accounts themselves, then this amount down here should equal the total of your cash accounts, which makes sense. And that's how that gets produced. You can study back to that accounts receivable that we see as a use of cash is because the other side of those entries, when you posted accounts receivable, you might have been posting to sales or rental income. So those are showing up as sources of cash. So then the amount that really hasn't been collected has to be taken away as a use of cash. If you can kind of grasp that concept, and kind of like accounts payable is showing up as a source of cash, then all the opposite debit entries are showing up as a use of cash. So they basically wash each other out. But this is just how it's done as a source and uses of cash financial statement. Let's check that cash balance and see. Here's this button that says current cash balances, and it's 346, 548, 63, and there's our cash balances. And that's what that cash flow statement is coming down to. If you're interested in, for the whole company, a period cash flow, you can click this button. You want to just know your cash flow for a certain time period. Excuse me. Maybe I'm sitting now in the year 2016. I'm actually in the first part of July doing this video. So maybe I'll just say I want to see the sources and use the cash flow for this period. And that's all you do. You don't have to select GL accounts. You'll notice that the cash flow button for period says it's for all GL accounts. So it'll just kind of, what it'll tell you, and it really is, cash has changed by $9,244.80. It has increased by $9,244.80. If you just select your cash accounts for that period, here's cash 1 through, there's our last cash one that we know about, and we just do a trial balance for the period. In other words, it's going to show the beginning and the ending, and you'll see that the period changes. You'll see which cash accounts went up or went down to come up with that ending cash balance on June 30 and how much, which is the same as that period cash flow statement, $9,244 for that same period. But that's about it for the cash flow for the entire company. And I'm going to just jump over and show how it can do it for a department. Let's do the custom homes department maybe. Cash flow for department. It's the same thing, only the only entries that it's looking at to do this are entries that were marked with that department. So you can basically take a look at it and you can see how much has been contributed by that department, how much cash through to today since the beginning of time. Also, if you need to see the detail, you might look at the detail by GL account if you're wanting to know what all of that's made up of. And so it starts in and shows you how much is in accounts receivable for that department, the entries in direct construction costs, which might be a lot because that's the department that's used for our job costs usually, construction loans payable, and all your in and out entries. And so you can get a detail of what the balances are for this cash flow for department. Now let's go ahead and talk about how CHS is so active. We want to talk about this area over here and this area here. CHS can definitely track cash by job, and I'm going to actually just start not with our normal demo job, but one that hasn't had that much entries, just so it's a little simpler to look at for a minute. And I'm going to come back to this analyze cash and credit cards today, but I'm going to do cash flow for job. By the way, there's several builders who used to use separate checking accounts for every single job, and once they start realizing how well CHS can track cash by job, they move to one checking account because they can get the information they need. So we have sources of cash. This is how much is in accounts payable, trade for that job, construction loans payable, some earned discounts we took, and this actually is miscellaneous income non-operating in account number 9,000, which is $100, which I did as a test for something that I'm going to show you in a minute as just a journal entry where only one side of the journal entry went to that job. And then uses of cash for this job has just been for job costs, basically your work in progress account. So you can kind of glance at it. You can say, well, 53,233 of that is down here in this direct construction cost probably for accounts payable. So that's a source of cash since we have both paid and unpaid job costs posted there and work in progress that show up as a balance. And we've gotten probably one draw in our contract deposit. We took a few discounts when we posted the bill, earned discounts, and this miscellaneous journal entry I made a credit to this 9,000, but I didn't do a debit, so I need to talk about that and what happens. So this is a net cash contributed or used by the jobs. That's how a program can do it, is go through all the entries except for the cash accounts, find all the entries that have the job code on it, and come up, I mean, by leaving out the cash accounts, this would be the same concept as how the total company figures out what the cash flow and the cash balance is. So you can also drill down either by financial section, sometimes by journal might be handy, but you can do by GL account again. So you can see the detail behind those balances. Notice I'm down at the bottom of the report, but the journal AJE, where I put a journal entry in saying testing cash flow $100, notice this is 81,594.45. This doesn't have a cash account. It doesn't know, because I just did a journal entry, one side with the job code, and then I did the other side, I did a credit, and the other side I did spaced out while I was talking. The other side I just did to the generic H job so that they didn't cancel each other out, because I wanted to show you how there's going to be $100 difference between this net cash contributed or used by jobs, which is figuring out just every entry with the job code, but not including let me see the accounts payable here for a minute. One good thing is that you can get a quick little glance at which bills aren't paid by looking at accounts payable for the job. And if you look down here, you see this Pro Build and we're ABC Foundation for $30,576. See how it's up here in this slab contract accounts payable, 1430 construction costs, and the amount is showing as a minus. This is because this is a cash flow statement. So the minus means this lowered was a use of cash, and a plus means it's a source of cash down here in accounts payable. If any of all that makes any sense to you, but that's CHS providing something called cash flow statements, and you can do it by job. Now another very interesting button here is this says analyze cash credit cards today, in other words whatever the balances are, and if I click that, what you're going to be able to drill down to is you're going to be able to see and there might be more than one bank account over here. This is just, we've only used one checking account to do anything for this job. And you'll be able to drill down to all deposits that have been posted for that job to that bank account and get a good wide report that shows you all kinds of detail about the deposits and the GL accounts that they were posted to and that kind of thing, and gives you a total deposits report. And then you can also drill down to what's actually been paid in payables. In other words, they were paid, there were check numbers on them, so you can see the detail of what's actually been paid out. And you notice that ABC Foundation for 30,000 something isn't on here because it was an unpaid one when I talked about it a while ago. So you can see exactly how much has been posted and either paid as a payable or as a depositor if you're doing payroll, or if you do a journal entry. The $100 I was showing you doesn't show up here. It's a journal entry that includes a cash line in it that's affecting cash that you might have put a job code to. And there might be some other random, who knows what, that has something to do with this checking account. So what you need to realize is this amount, $81,494.45, can be a little different than your cash flow statement. This is actually just an analysis of the cash accounts. Not all of the GL accounts for real. It just goes through all your books, finds all the entries paid out of the cash account or deposits entered to the cash account. So sometimes it might be a little different. A lot of times it might be the same. But if you get carried away doing journal entries where just one side is to the job and the other side isn't, then that could cause this to be this number that you're seeing here to be just a little different. Let's look at our demo job that we use all the time and we've done a lot more activity on, and let's analyze its cash, because I want to show you how it also has, they've used a couple of checking accounts. They put, if you drill down, they put $10,000. It was the down payment. You can see that description there. To this checking account, then they did pay a few of their bills out of that checking account for whatever reason. So you can see what bills were paid out of each checking account or deposits posted to it. But then we also are showing credit card payable, and it's just entries that were posted to that job and marked as paid by this credit card. So in other words, you're going to come along later and do one big lump sum payment to this credit card that might involve 4 and 5 jobs. But we're going ahead and saying this job has already used up cash of $13,857.82. Whether we've paid that credit card company directly or not, we're going to pick up all the entries that we posted as paid by that credit card, which you can study on credit card features in other demos, etc., so that we can come up with the cash. We're kind of anticipating the cash use right here when it's credit cards, if you haven't paid the credit card yet, but at least it lets us know how much this job has used up or will very shortly use up just because you pay credit cards, and giving you the job net total. But you can see how CHS is very active in tracking cash by job and giving you information about that cash. And you can drill down to things. You can also over here get a great big analysis, and this is going to analyze every single job and every checking account or cash account or credit card account. This one is interesting. This PM Bolden job is actually a property management thing I was demoing, and you can see that we did a journal entry, 74,000. That's showing up here, but it knows which cash account, because the other side of my journal entry was actually taking it out of cash and putting a job code on it. So if you do anything that should be showing up on this thing as a journal entry, you need to put both the cash account and the job code on it. So we bought the property is what it was, and we wire transferred the money, and we just posted a journal entry where we could have also posted that in accounts payable and marked it as paid. But then we've had a few deposits posted, money, and it's security deposit, March rent, April rent from some tenants. So you can drill down and then you can see the net. So far we've used up, it's contributed minus 70,850 in overall, that job. That's not a house that's being built, but it's a little easier to look at and understand. And you can drill down on all of this stuff and analyze it. Then you can get reports of this. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. By job, then by account, which is just for open jobs, or all jobs, which is actually the report of this screen that we just opened. Or you can make it do it by account, then by job on open jobs. So instead of grouping by the checking account, by the job, it's grouping by the checking account or the credit card account. So you can see this checking account, and then you see jobs, and then you see their deposits, etc. So you can see which jobs have been contributing to the checking account, which ones have been pulling on the checking accounts or minus amounts. And you can see on the credit card payables which job you've been paying with a credit card and how much that's pulling that. Excuse my cough there. But I think you get the general idea of how CHS can produce cash flow reports and how it can show you what's happening by job in your cash accounts. Another button which I didn't do is both the cash balances. There's all your cash accounts, and there's your credit card accounts, just to show you the balances in those. And the one other button up here that I should mention is going to show you the profit and cash status of each job. And it's actually using, if we look at our VistaView demo job, it's marked as a cost plus fee. I've showed this report before, and I've also showed how you go to a window where you set contract type and you're analyzing your original profit. You can do that on the owner review screen. But way over here at the right, then it's showing cash flow balance, which is that cash flow report we just did, and unpaid accounts payable balance, and job cash that's available after the unpaid account, if we paid all these accounts payable for that job. So that's where that cash flow balance is being brought in, over at the right hand side of this analysis report. So that's another neat report that's there showing you how much it's tracking the cash available by job, not just the cash net, but cash available for each job. And I'll close that. And if you'd open the owner review, which is on the button, you can see that kind of thing going on right here. You can also drill down to see what those bills are for that job that haven't been paid yet. And there's your cash available for that job after the cash balance from the cash flow minus the accounts payable, and then job cash payable. This is a dashboard for the owner review, where the profit's heading, where estimated costs of completion for each job are heading, and it's showing you the cash flow balance, payables for each job, and job cash available. So there's all kinds of neat things here that a lot of programs don't do as well as CHS, I don't think. And I get people real amazed and builders real amazed about how much they can tell is in and out for each particular job, and that they maybe don't have to have all those separate checking accounts for each and every job, because CHS can tell you right away how much is for each job and how much money in and out. Anyway, I hope that helps, and thank you for watching.